Okay, thank you for attending the event. In this presentation, I will promote our work on UU the Vote at UUCR and what we are doing to support democracy. UU the Vote is a Unitarian Universalist Association initiative to support to provide UUs a way to support our democratic values and build a genuine multiracial democracy. At UUCR, we are engaged in UU the Vote to foster voter registration, get out the vote, issue education, support policies UUs believe in, and recruiting election of workers. This year, we are working on becoming a good trouble congregation. What is a good trouble congregation? The late John Lewis said, "When you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you have to speak up. You have to say something. You have to do something." This means stirring up good trouble, standing up against what is unjust. UU the Vote recognizes UU congregations that meet certain criteria in our UU the Vote initiatives that become a good trouble congregation. Currently, we would like to, 1, register voters at 3 or more public events with the League of Women Voters, reach 20% of volunteer engagement in good trouble programming, recruit at least 2 election workers, average 20 Get Out the Vote postcards written per member, average 20 phone banking calls per member to get out the vote, and average 10 ballot petition signatures per member. What we would like to do exceeds the requirements to become a good trouble congregation. Out of the 6 that I mentioned, we only need to achieve 4. This presentation will include a representative from the League of Women Voters to talk about what we can do to register voters. Our work with the League of Women Voters has been facilitated by Ruth Grubb. Then I will talk about postcarding process, and following this, I will lead a demo on how to phone bank using an interactive website. Lastly, Terry Grogan will discuss our work with Unitarian Universalists for Social Justice. And after the presentation, there will be an opportunity to see a video lecture by one of the authors of the book, Tyranny of the Minority: Why American Democracy Reached the Breaking Point. Okay, Ruth, would you like to introduce?
Yes, part of our process, as Tim said, is to register voters. And so I joined the League of Women Voters, and I took their training, and about 10 other members of our congregation took the training as well. And we have started registering voters, and during the next week, a lot of us were going to be more involved. But I want to introduce our representative from the League of Women Voters, Wendy Fox-Grage.
We're also on Zoom, so I will use the microphone and be more formal. So my name is Wendy Fox-Grage, and I'm a volunteer. I don't do this for a living, and in fact, at the League of Women Voter, we are a volunteer organization. As you can see, I'm going to show a lot of photos because it shows what we do, right? I joined this group because they're wonderful. I've been a member for at least probably about 20 years at this point. I joined because I moved to the area, and in Virginia we have elections every year, and I realized in that first election it was a local election, and I realized I knew nothing, and that was not acceptable to me. So I really wanted to join an organization that was nonpartisan, where I could just get the facts. I really just wanted to know the facts, and I really wanted to learn what were the candidates and what were the issues. Because my husband and I moved to this area. We live about 10 minutes from here. And we moved to the area because of the school system. Our oldest daughter had been born, and so we moved to this area, and I really wanted to be part of a community, and volunteerism has always been important to me. So anyway, it's a fantastic group. As you can see from the photo, I'm going to show a lot of photos because it shows you what we do, right? And Ruth, thank you so much for joining, and Kathy's been very busy with the whole voter service. If you feel kind of down and upset about the polarization and disinformation and just how ugly things have gotten, this type of volunteerism, it makes me feel better. So the League of Women Voters has been around forever. It started with the suffragettes 104 years ago, and here they are. That's a picture of them picketing the White House during the Wilson administration. And then the picture right next to it is, and I'm going to show you current pictures now from here on out. That is a current picture of us on a campus doing voter registration. Okay, so our core mission is everything about voting and elections, and I was so happy to see your sign about the November 5th election. That's great. So already you're getting out the word. That's a lot of what we do, is get the word out. We also register voters, and I'm going to show you lots of pictures of us doing that, and it's all about strengthening our democracy. And at the League of Women Voters, so we're our local chapter, and in fact, we were just talking, a bunch of us are this afternoon going to be going to the office, the league office, to go get registration materials and all of that. It's a great way also to meet really neat, kind of engaged people. And we're always looking for volunteers, and you don't even need to be a member because there's just so much to do. In our organization in the Fairfax area, we only have a little over 400 volunteers, and it's a huge county. So there's lots of opportunities, and I'll just run you through some of them. So basically, I was asked to say, what is it that the League of Women Voters does? So we educate and inform voters. Like me, we have materials like what's on the ballot, because a lot of times they might not know. So we have elections every single year. So this is a big presidential year. Most people do know this year, but then the voter turnout is very low, and people actually don't know the issues like me when I first moved here. So every single year we have an election, so we never rest. And so there are lots of volunteer opportunities. And then obviously we register voters. I'm going to take you through that. And then we also advocate for voting rights and ballot access so that everybody can retain the right to vote and has access to be able to vote. Okay, so we're nonpartisan. We're not Republican, we're not Democrat, we're neutral, we're nonpartisan. And even if you're not a member, what we usually do is we pair you up with somebody. So even if you are a member and you're just starting out on registering voters, we usually pair you up with somebody like me who's been doing it a gazillion years and has registered hundreds of voters, and then you get the hang of it, right? So that's usually how we work. I on purpose wore my League of Women Voters t-shirt, so you'll see a ton of pictures where this t-shirt helps us get into places where only the league is like allowed to be registering voters. We have pens and stickers and all sorts of stuff. Okay, so this is basically why local elections are important. I think I really covered that. Okay, so now what I'm going to get into is all the different volunteer opportunities. And again, you can be a member if you want, or if not, you can still do this with us, which we highly encourage. So we have a whole high school voter registration program. We register the high school seniors in high schools. We're at Nova Community College. We're also at George Mason University. And in fact, we have like a whole student group at George Mason. New citizens, when they're sworn in at the immigration office, the first thing that they can do as a citizen is they have a right to vote. So I'm going to show you pictures of that. That's really cool. I do that. After they're sworn in, they can then vote, and that's when we register hundreds and hundreds of voters. We are all over the community. This community has so many different festivals and community events, and we try to get to as many of those as we can. We're at senior centers and residences to help them vote as well, homeless shelters and jails. Okay, so let's just look at some photos, because this just shows us in action. Just this past year, we registered about 2,500 high schoolers, seniors. So the picture that is on, I guess it's on your left, that's one of our volunteers teaching during a government class or civics class about elections and voting and what the issues are. The picture in the middle, they're in the hallway, but we're oftentimes in the cafeterias, wherever the students are, we go, and then at a campus. This is, again, our high school voter registration program. This is them at our displays and our tables. We do everything from, teaching in the classroom to model congresses in the high schools. That's a really neat program. I am not able to do this one personally because I work during the day, so I'm not able to do this, but when I retire, this is what I'm going to do. It's really, really cool to teach the kids, and it's really important. If you can get people to be lifelong voters, if you can go early and explain the importance of it, that's really where the rubber meets the road. Okay, here's us on the college campuses, and this is the biggest thing, is that it's our younger voters, younger than age 30, that have the lowest rate of participation. They only vote 25% of them in the off-election years, and so a lot of our activities are to get that number up and get people engaged in their community. We can only be a democracy if we all vote. So this is us in action at the school, at the colleges. On Tuesday, it's a very big day, it's National Voter Registration Day, and you will see us at all of the Fairfax County libraries. Libraries are wonderful, they are our friends. We have meetings there, they're where the community goes, and so we go there too. So you get to see, those are 3 different pictures of us at libraries. Okay. New citizen ceremonies. This gives me goosebumps. This is where I volunteer. When they're sworn in and they become citizens and you see the American flags, it is really neat. This always makes my day when I volunteer here. So we've registered just this past year over 3,000 new voters who are new citizens to this country. And again, we also, during the new citizen ceremonies, we also speak to them about elections and we teach them about the issues as well. Okay, so this is us again at the U.S. Customs and Immigration Office, again where we're registering new voters as soon as they're sworn in. In the middle, you can see that's about how many volunteers we have on a Saturday. So it takes a lot of us, actually. Okay. We also are all over the county to try to get out, to get the word out and be present. So we have and we also have a ton of voting materials to let people know about. We have something called What's on the Ballot. So oftentimes they might know the candidates, but they might not know when you turn your voter ballot on, there's all this referendum and what those are. We have a website called vote411.org where all the candidates, they answer the same questions. We publish their answers so that you can compare and contrast and figure out who you want to vote for and who you don't. And voter guides we do. So again, that's us out in the community. The Reston Pride Festival, we're in Reston, so I thought I'd do some Reston things. So those are pictures of us this past year at Reston. This is us at senior centers. I love the picture in the middle. She's 101 years old, and she's voting. So if you can't get out, we'll go to you. Okay, so how can you help? This is the most important slide, and I think the reason why you all wanted me here. You can join the League of Women Voters. It's really easy. You can do it online on our website, and it's just writing a check, basically. If you don't want to, that's okay. You don't have to join us at all. We are always looking for help, and so I love the goals that you all set. That's amazing. And so at a minimum, though, if you don't have to join us, but it is required by the state that you take this online training. It's really fast. I think I did it in under a half an hour. It's really pretty easy. You want to do that anyway because you got to know what you're doing to register somebody. And then you can always volunteer with us. We do work with congregations or really anybody who wants to help us in this work because there are just so many different volunteer opportunities, and so we need to partner. And we have a newsletter. We've got all sorts of other things, so you can just sign up for it. Okay. And then that's some of our swag. We try to always identify ourselves, and actually that's what gets us in the schools and the different ceremonies and things like that is we wear these T-shirts. We've got all kinds of buttons. Okay, there's some vote swag with different, bands and things like that. So I just want to thank you all. Thanks for having me, and thank you for having these fantastic goals and postcarding and everything that you're doing. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. Well, and Ruth is, oh, yes.
It's not a question, but I'm going to leave at noon. The senior centers, I live in a place, would you be interested in getting any kind of information about where that is? People being liaisons, because that's the way it might help you get in. So
Yeah, that would be
before you
great.
go, I want to grab you. I live in Arbor Terrace.
Perfect.
In Herndon.
Okay, great. That sounds good. And then Ruth also is a member too, and we can get that to our volunteer coordinator. She's a volunteer also, but we can get that. But yeah, we definitely want to make sure if we're not already there, we want to make sure we get there.
So there's a whole week coming up of senior centers this week.
It is. So let's get that. So Alan and Ruth, if you guys can, yeah. Yes. Great. Thank you, Alan.
On your voter guides, do you just list the candidates, or do you list the candidates and their positions on issues?
That's a great question. So on the printed guides, so that they're not a gazillion pages long, those have this, so that's the print piece of paper, right? On the piece of paper, it lists the district and the candidates who are running and then the referendum. If you go onto our website, which is which can be longer, that's that vote411.org. That has all their positions. That has all the answers. It's much longer, and we can do that online. We used to print the whole thing actually way back when in local newspapers, but unfortunately local newspapers are kind of dying. And so we used to publish it all. Now that part is all online. And everybody seems to be doing things online. You can get it easily off your phone too. But that's a great question. Yes.
We know that all college campuses have League of Women Voters groups at college campuses. I'm just asking my granddaughter, she's at college, so do we know they all do have such groups?
So we have one at George Mason University. We don't have them at every school. We need the school to say yes, we need their permission, right, that they want to do it. But we are always open. What school does she go to?
Virginia Tech.
Okay, I don't think there is one there. I can double check. But we would love to, there's always a league that's in that area, and we'd love to partner with them and get, so students, we highly encourage students to join our organization, and in fact, they volunteer as well. And they're free. We don't charge a membership fee because, again, we need to get the youth more involved. So I'd be interested in seeing if we can.
Asking her if there is one, if not, maybe she could get one going.
Great, I love it. That's a great idea.
You know, I've already done a couple of voter registrations, and I'm going to do one Tuesday.
Oh, good, at the library?
At Mason.
Oh, perfect.
And,
good. Let's make sure we're counting all this good trouble.
All right. Any other questions?
Steph?
Hey, do you do any outreach specifically to the disabled community in terms of trying to make sure they're aware of accessible ways to go, or by mail, or
I'm sorry, Steph, I couldn't hear. Like, get out the vote, something, do we get out the,
Are you doing get out the vote work for the disability?
oh, the disability community? We'd always be interested. So, like, what did you have in mind? Because we probably need to talk after.
Involved in a young adults kind of social network of folks who are not mostly autistic, but they you know, hanging with disabilities of the road and communicate about the issues, but they're kind of left out of the conversation.
Yeah, no, I think that's important. Ruth, can we also, let's get that contact information from Steph also? That would be great. Yeah, no, I know there's many more places where we should be, so it's great to have these suggestions, and then we can put that forward. In fact, we're going to be there this afternoon at the office, and that it is going to be about getting out the vote. So this is actually really timely, Steph. If you and Alan can give us that information, then we can make sure that we get our volunteers in contact with those groups. Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Thanks for okay. Sounds good. Thanks again.
Okay, probably most of you are familiar with postcarding, but I wanted to hand out sample packets to anybody who's interested in it. Okay, if you can look at those packets if you are curious about what we do. Is there anybody that is unfamiliar with what we do for postcarding or would like to know more? Okay. All right. Well, we can move on to phone banking. I guess just to give an overview of postcarding first. So if you're interested in sending postcards to voters, what we do is I put together postcard packets with samples that give you the instructions about how to fill out a postcard and send it. There's a bunch of different things that are in each packet. There's postcards, stamps, guidelines, labels, scripts, and sample postcards. I send out an email every week asking for people interested in mailing postcards. If you'd like to be on the list, or if you have any interest in what we're doing to support You the Vote, there is a sign-up sheet that should be on the foyer. So whenever you'd like to, you can add your name to the list. But for postcarding, I can add your name to the email list, and I send a weekly email asking for people interested in writing postcards. Okay, so we can go over the demo for phone banking. The reason why I wanted to go over this is because a lot of people don't really like phone banking because there's a lot of hang-ups or people sometimes aren't available so much, but it's an effective way of getting out the vote. So I just wanted to go over and show you how easy it was. All right, can we bring up yeah. If you go to Actions and Phone Banking, this is the Center for Common Ground website. All you do is type that into the browser. It says North Carolina, get out the vote. You don't need to remember this, but if you're interested in doing it on your own, you can do it on your own this way. One thing, UU the Vote has weekly phone banks. So you can join a phone bank every week if you're interested, and you can join the phone bank, and it's held on Zoom, and there's a minister, a UU minister in North Carolina that kind of runs it. But if you're interested in doing it on your own, I can show you. Just click on the Mecklenburg County. And so you need to register with this website and fill out information, contact information. Thanks. And then when you log in, you just say you're doing UU the Vote, and then you're immediately brought to this page. So in the upper left-hand corner of the page, that's the person you're contacting, and you can speak and listen through the computer. Another way to do that is to create a Google Voice account, so you can not have your phone number available to who you're calling. At the very top are what the little buttons going across. It says non-contact online phone bank. If you get any of those at the top, so you could get a bad number, you could get no answer, you could get refused, and you click on one of those, and it'll forward you to the next call. If you do reach someone or you want to leave a voicemail, there's a script. So it's very easy. All you do is read that while you're looking at the website. And if there's any interest, you can see the buttons on the bottom of the page. It says early in person. If they would like more information about any of that, then you can click one of the buttons and press next. Can you do that, Amelia? Just give an example. So it tells you exactly what it says, what to say. So it's very easy. My experience with phone banking has been that there's a lot of calls that are rejected in some way, but I have gotten through to, I don't know, maybe 1 out of 10, something like that. And it does have a pretty big impact. I think comparing postcarding to phone banking gets out the vote better, or it's more effective. Does anybody have any initial questions? Gar?
So one is, can you tell me, you said 1 out of 10 for phone, what is the response rate like for postcards? Or do you have any way of knowing?
I think it's, well, for phone banking, you contact a person 1 out of every 10 times, but whether they decide to vote, we don't know. But I think the difference is postcarding gets about 2% of people that eventually go on to vote. I think phone banking is higher, but it could be something like 4 or 5%. I'm not totally sure, but it is more effective. So, yeah. Yeah, if you could send me a number of your name, number of calls, maybe if you talk to people, that'd be good to know too, or if you have a good experience. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
What's a good time of day to be calling people as far as optimum maximized responses?
Well, the phone banks are done usually in the evening. I think people, like, if they're, the best times to get them are when they're home, so probably in the evening is better. I think Fridays are often times that we've done phone banking, but there's other days of the week too. Is any, yeah.
Where do the names come from to call or to send postcards to?
So those names are from voter rolls. The Center for Common Ground, I think, gets them. You know, they go to the public records. They probably have someone that gets the contact information for them, but I'm not completely sure. But I yeah.
I think the center and other groups often focus on specific demographics, particular areas where turnout is low, or I think they sometimes are able to find people who haven't voted in the last election, and also minority populations that they're targeted not in partisan but in
Okay, yeah. What Terry said is that Center for Common Ground usually tries to get the word out to states where there's 20% BIPOC population, which is Black, interracial, people of color, and the population that they target is usually someone from those communities. You know, because they're often have more difficulty voting, or you know, something like that. Yeah. I think it's nonpartisan, so I don't know I wouldn't know the you know, if someone's a Democrat or Republican. Yeah.
You just get a list of registered voters. I don't think it's us, because I've been writing letters and postcards, and it doesn't say, it just says their name and address.
Yeah. I think it's public records, nonpartisan, you know, UU The Vote has worked with Center for Common Ground for a while, so, yeah. Any other questions about about the website or anything like that? Also, I just wanted to update everybody on the progress we're making on postcards. As of today, we've committed to sending about 5,450 postcards, which meets our Good Trouble goal, but, you know, we can still do more. Okay. And I believe Terry Grogan is going to talk about our work with Unitarian Universalist Social Justice group. Thanks.
Thanks, Tim. I'm going to try to quickly cover two things, additional activities UUs can take, folks here in the congregation, to make Good Trouble and help protect our democracy. One is focusing on Election Day itself. This church and others are doing great work on registering voters, sending out information to voters, but as you know, there have been concern based on actual activities of problems on Election Day. There's always problems that are just kind of inadvertent, mechanical, or human error. But there are folks out there who are trying to disrupt the voting process, to make it difficult for people to vote, to send in misinformation. And I wanted to share one thing people can do. People are already doing things like, I think, Ruth, you may be an election official, if I'm not mistaken, which is a county position. There are also folks doing the partisan handout of flyers. That's another thing you can do, but that is partisan. This is nonpartisan. It's called, this particular effort is called the Virginia Election Protection. It's a coalition of dozens of groups, civic, legal, church, and otherwise. And what they try to do is provide eyes and ears on the ground on Election Day. They're looking for things like long lines, problems with curbside voting, confusion, misinformation, or suppression. And what they try to do is to help clarify as they can, to calm people down, to provide information, and if there are problems, to turn it over to somebody who can deal with it, either a legal official or somebody at the polling place itself. They're looking for volunteers right now, and especially asking congregations to do it. They're looking for folks to be what they're calling voter advocates, which are playing the role I just mentioned on Election Day. Some of them are assigned to one precinct. Others agree to rove, to go to other precincts as needed. This may be a little less interest, but they're also looking for legal advocates. So if there are any lawyers here, looking for some activity, and folks to work on sign teams to plant signs, as the name suggests. To do this, you can go to, well, a couple of things. You can go to their website, which is protectthevoteva.org. And maybe we can try to send out some follow-up with some of this information. Protectthevoteva.org. They also have a hotline, which is working now and will be working on Election Day, called 866-OUR-VOTE, O-U-R-V-O-T-E, with lots of information about voting. And then there's a webinar, if you really want to learn more about this, on this Wednesday night, the 18th at 6 p.m., there's a webinar. And again, we can send out information maybe to the committee mailing list about that. What you'll do on that day is learn all about this. And if you sign up as a volunteer, as I've done, you will receive training, materials, and a t-shirt. So they have swag too, which is always important. Once you sign up and are in the system, you get a chance to choose a location that you volunteer to work at. And you can go anywhere in the state. There are a number in Fairfax County. And then you as I said, get trained, get the materials, and show up. So that's Virginia Election Protection. Again, protectthevoteva.org. The other thing I wanted to mention is about Unitarians Universalists. Yeah, Judy?
Great idea, and can you put that in the
E-blast. You have to look at the schedule. It may be too late for the webinar, but in general, that's a great idea. Yeah, thank you. I think Reverend Aileen mentioned we may be setting up a new communication vehicle that talks about opportunities like this beyond the e-blast. So I don't think that's ready yet, but that will be great as well. But great idea.
We have systems that can do that. I think Harry is still learning though, but yeah,
Okay.
we have ways of communicating, not just through the class.
Great. So I don't know if folks on the Zoom can hear, but we committed to put out more information through the e-blast and otherwise about all of this. So yeah, before I move on, any other, yes?
So will the website give information about this webinar?
Yes, it will, absolutely. Yeah. Again, it's this Wednesday, so it's coming up pretty quickly. I went to one already. They're very short. It was half an hour. It was like great. It's great not to have an hour-long webinar. Anything else on Election Day, Protect the Vote stuff? Okay. I'll go on quickly to UUSJ. As you probably know,
Oh, actually,
yeah.
I just thought of something. Do you have like any connection to mobilization for getting people to the polling places and so forth, and cars and stuff like that?
Does the league do that? Yeah, I'm not sure who does that. In some states, they have the souls to the polls, which are often organized around, minority churches, but yeah.
Say the parties do it.
Parties do it, and maybe, I don't know of any person, I don't personally know of any links or how to get involved in that. Yeah, you can check with the party, it's probably the easiest way. They probably have folks who are set up to provide an individual request to get to the polls. Also, you can folks vote early and vote curbside, and that avoids a lot of the election day craziness. So it's such a good idea for so many reasons. Vote early, not often, but early. So one time, vote once early. So this church was one of the founding members of Unitarians Universalists for Social Justice. It's now moved from a regional-based group to a national group, and I won't spend more time on it because we're running out of time, but I want to mention some opportunities for you to take activity through UUSJ. One of the main things UUSJ does is advocacy on Capitol Hill and in the administration, and sometimes in court, on national policy issues that affect UU values. A lot of advocacy work. And a lot of it is through meetings with staff and occasionally members of Congress in person or Zoom. But there's also a way for individual folks like all of us to contact your member quite easily on an issue of importance. UUSJ puts out action alerts probably every month or two. They issue one or more. I have two examples here that I'll share with you and give you sheets about. What it does is it describes the issue and then provides a prepared letter, email really, that you can send to your member, which you can modify. So you can add your personal touch. If there's something in there you don't like, change it. And it'll go to, depending on the issue, probably your two senators and your member of Congress. There are a number of those, as I mentioned, that are available now. All of this is on the UUSJ website, which is uusj.org. That's a wealth of information there on democracy, immigration, economics, the environment, lots of things in terms of policy. The two I wanted to highlight and leave with you today as opportunities to take action. One is a recent one called Congress Must Speak Out for Democracy. I have what's called a poster here, briefly describes what it's about. At the bottom, it gives a thing you can scan. It also gives it's not really a link, it's a thing you can enter into your phone. That when you do that, you get to the action alert I mentioned, that prepared email that you can send, boom, and it's gone. It takes 2 minutes. So this one is asking members of Congress to take a stance in support of democracy, things like fair voting, fair election counting, and to be vigilant to defend democracy and not just sit back. So it's not specific about a bill, it's about just please be there, be open, be committed, do what you should do. The second one, following up on today's session, is about immigration, and in particular, it's about Afghan allies, the 85,000 or so who were evacuated, most of whom right now are still in limbo in terms of their legal status. Congress has been slow walking for 2 years now legislation to provide a pathway to citizenship and legal protection for these folks who were there when our country and their country needed them, and now they're kind of just hanging fire waiting to see what happens. This is asking Congress to please finally pass this bipartisan, carefully developed, long-standing process to develop this bill based on the Afghan Adjustment Act. They're trying to get it into must-pass legislation because it's hard to get anything through Congress these days. So this is something I'd really recommend that you do. I'll just mention that, finally, in closing, that UUSJ has an immigration team that's very active on the kind of issues Steve raised. In addition to the on-the-ground work he's doing and so many are doing around the country, this is policy work, trying to change our immigration laws, try to provide pathways for citizenship, try to stop a lot of bad things from happening. We've been playing defense for the last 5 years, or actually 7 years. So anyway, any questions about UUSJ or any follow-up that you'd like? Yeah.
Policy work in terms of immigration, does UUSJ take a position on that bipartisan bill?
Yeah, one of the main things we do, and I'm actually the co-leader of our immigration team, one of the main things we do is take positions, and we talk about how it affects UU values. We always lead to the faith-based basis for it. But yeah, we take positions on bills for or against and do that all through the year. We often join organizational letters with dozens or hundreds of other churches, immigrant advocates, legal groups, just good government groups. So yes, very much so. Yeah, and this is basically national. We don't get involved in local or state bills or policies. So. Okay, well, we'll send out that information about the voter protection on the e-blast and maybe a reminder about the action alerts too. Oh, and I'll leave these up here, one on Afghans and one on democracy. And can I put them on the piano? Is that allowed? Okay, I'll put them on the green table. Okay. Okay. Oh, did I? Or we could pass them around as another option. Is that what you're? Or did I get? I'm sorry. I got Tim's notes. Oh, sorry. Theft. Thank you.
Okay, so right now there's a video that we're gonna show if anybody's interested. It'll take about half an hour. It's about tyranny of the minority. It's a book that was published. So if you're interested in seeing that, it'll be shown here, and it'll be about half an hour. Again, if you have any interest in what was said today, please add your name to the sign-up list in the foyer. Okay, thank you for coming.